Welcome to the GasBadge Pro On-line training module number 6. In this module, I will be discussing the different configuration options within the instrument. Through the configuration screen, the user can configure the instrument to their needs, including the display, alarms, calibration, data logging, and other instrument functions. Adding features that are beneficial to their mission is what the configuration screen is all about. With the GasBadge Pro, there are 26 different options you can configure to your needs. Knowing what each screen means and how to access the different options is very important for the user. First, the user must know how to access the configuration menu. If the GasBadge Pro is on, they must first turn the instrument off and then back on in order to access the configuration menu. Before getting into the configuration menu, the user will see this startup screen. They will then see the revision number, as well as the days since last calibration or how many days until calibration is due. And finally, the countdown screen. Once the GasBadge Pro gets to this screen, the user must press both up and down buttons at the same time for at least 3 seconds. Once the user sees the 0 with a slash through it blinking, this tells the user they are in the configuration menu. After the user sees this screen, they can now press the up or down buttons to access all of the features in the configuration menu. The first feature in the configuration menu is the zeroing screen. If the user is trying to zero the instrument, they can now press the enter button. Once the user has pressed the enter button, the 0 with a slash through it will stop blinking and the clock symbol will appear, and that clock symbol will then start to blink itself, letting the user know that they are currently zeroing the GasBadge Pro. And what you are doing during the zeroing process is giving whatever sensor is installed in the instrument a baseline to know what fresh air looks like. Electrochemical sensors should be reading 0 in a fresh air environment, so zeroing the sensor out, make sure that that sensor most definitely reads 0 in fresh air. Once the instrument is done zeroing, the instrument will emit a short beep and the calibration gas bottle will appear. From here, the user will want to either let the instrument time out or press the on-off button. Once the user has either pressed the on-off button or let the GasBadge Pro time out, the instrument will revert back to the real-time operations screen. For more information and a video on how to zero the meter, go to module number 3 for operations or module number 4 for calibration. If you zeroed the instrument and allowed it to time out, then you must turn the instrument off and back on to get back into the configuration menu. If you did not zero the meter, then press the up button once and this screen will be displayed, showing the user how many days it's been since the last time this instrument has been calibrated, or how many days until the next time the GasBadge Pro needs to be calibrated. This feature, depending on which setting they have selected, it may show the user how many days it's been since the last time the instrument has been calibrated, or it could also show the user how many days until the next calibration is due. Either way, it's very important to check this screen and know when to calibrate the instrument, because Industrial Scientific recommends a monthly calibration on all of our instruments. Pressing the up button once will display this screen, showing the printer icon in the lower right-hand corner of the display. This screen allows the user to print the last 15 alarm events stored within the GasBadge Pro. In order to print the alarm events, a serial printer with infrared capabilities must be utilized. What the user must do is aim the infrared port located on the bottom of the GasBadge Pro at the infrared port on the thermal printer and then press the enter button. Once the user has pressed the enter button, the printer icon will start to flash on the display of the GasBadge Pro. The printer's LEDs will also start to flash. From there, the printer will print out the last 15 alarm events automatically. For more information on how to initiate a print, go to module number 5, Data Logging. Pressing the up button once will show this screen with the buzzer icon and also the triangle pointing down, allowing the user to change the low alarm set point stored within the instrument. This feature is necessary because some companies have different regulations than the standard alarms that we put into the GasBadge Pro. So for the user, to know how to set the low alarm is important, as well as knowing what their company's default low alarm settings are. If the user is trying to change the low alarm, they must press the enter button. Once the enter button is pressed, the numerical value will start to flash. Once the numerical value starts to flash, the user can now press either the up or down buttons depending on what they want the low alarm set point to be. After the user has the low alarm set point at the desired level, they must now press the enter button and that value is now saved. By pressing the up button once, this screen will be displayed, showing the buzzer symbol and also the triangle pointing up, allowing the user to change the high alarm set point in the GasBadge Pro. It's important for the user to know how to change the high alarm level within the instrument. That way, just in case the high alarm needs to be changed, they know exactly what screen to go to. If the user is trying to change the high alarm set point, they must press the enter button. Once the enter button is pressed, the numerical value will start to flash. As soon as the numerical value starts to flash, the user can now press the up or down buttons to change this value depending on what they want the high alarm set point to be. Once the user has the high alarm set point at the desired level, the user must now press the enter button and that value is saved. Pressing the up button once will show this screen with the words TWA and the buzzer icon showing. This screen allows the user to set up the TWA or time-weighted average alarm set point within the GasBadge Pro. If a TWA value is reached or exceeded, then an alarm will sound letting the user know they have exceeded that limit. If the user wants to change the TWA alarm value, then the user must press the enter button. Once that button is pressed, the numerical value will start to flash. The user can now press the up or down buttons to change this value depending on what they want the TWA alarm value to be. After the user has changed the alarm value, they must press the enter button and that value is now saved. By pressing the up button once, this screen will appear with the letters TWA and also the clock symbol, allowing the user to change the TWA time interval. The time interval is typically an 8-hour period and is basically said to be the average gas exposure a person is able to be exposed to over a certain time period. The time interval can be set anywhere from 1 to 40 hours. If the user is trying to change the TWA time interval, then they must press the enter button once. Once the enter button is pressed, the numerical value will start to flash. As long as the numerical value is flashing, the user can press either the up or down buttons depending on what the user wants the TWA time interval to be. Once the user has the TWA time interval set to their desired level, the user must press the enter button and that value is now saved. Pressing the up button once will display this screen showing the letters STEL and also the buzzer icon. This screen allows the user to adjust the short-term exposure limit alarm set point. And what the short-term exposure limit means is that whenever the value of this short-term exposure limit within a 15-minute time period is reached, the instrument will go into alarm. If the user wants to change the short-term exposure limit alarm set point, they must press the enter button. Once the enter button is pressed, the numerical value will start to flash. With the numerical value flashing, the user can press either the up or down buttons depending on what they want the short-term exposure limit alarm set point to be. After the user has the short-term exposure limit alarm set point at the desired level, they must press the enter button and that value is now saved. Pressing the up button once will show this screen with the calibration gas bottle icon in the lower left-hand corner of the display. This screen allows the user to set the calibration gas value of the instrument to the concentration they have in their bottle of calibration gas. It's imperative that the user make sure this value is exactly what is on their bottle of calibration gas, because if the value is not, and they go to perform a calibration, the instrument will either fail the calibration or could possibly skew the sensor's reading of the environment. If the user needs to change this value, they must first press the enter button, and the numerical value will begin to flash. After the enter button is pressed, they can now use either the up or down buttons to change this value to what they want the value to be. Once that value is set in the instrument, the user can now press the enter button and that value is saved. Pressing the up button once will show this screen with the clock symbol on the display. This screen allows the user to change the internal time of the instrument. This is important because whenever the user goes to perform an infrared print or a downloading of the data logging, the time is stamped as well as the readings the instrument saw at that time. If the user needs to change this clock, they must press the enter button and the first set of numbers will start to flash, or the hours will start to flash. Once the hours have started flashing, they can now press either the up or down buttons on what the hour should really be, in a 24-hour format. After the user has the hour set in the instrument, they must press the enter button, and the hours are now saved. As soon as the user presses the enter button, the hours will be saved and the minutes will begin to flash. The user can now press the up or down buttons to change the minutes to the desired value. After the minutes are set in the instrument, the user must now press the enter button and the clock is saved. Pressing the up button once will display this screen, showing the two calendars in the upper left-hand corner. This screen allows the user to change the internal date in the GasBadge Pro. To change the date, the user must press the enter button. Once the user presses the enter button, the days icon will hide and the first set of numbers will start to flash, letting them know that they are about to change the month inside the instrument. Once the month starts to flash, the user can press either the up button or the down button depending on what they want the month to be. As soon as the month is set, they must now press the enter button and the month is saved in the instrument. Once the user presses the enter button, the month icon will hide and the days icon will reappear, letting the user know that they are now able to change what day of the month it is. As soon as the user presses the enter button, they must now press either the up or down buttons to change what day of the month they wish to choose. After the user has the day of the month set up in the instrument, the user must press the enter button. Upon pressing the enter button, the user will now see 4 digits on the screen, letting the user know they are about to change the year of that instrument. Those numbers will also begin to flash. With the digits flashing, they can now press either the up or down buttons to change the year of the instrument. Once the user has the date set within the instrument, the user must press the enter button and the entire date is now saved. Pressing the up button once will display this screen with the lock symbol, allowing the user to enter a security code into the GasBadge Pro. Once a code is entered into the instrument, that code blocks other users from being able to calibrate the instrument in the main menu and also makes the user put a code in whenever they try to get into the configuration mode. If the user is trying to change the security code, they must press the enter button and the numerical value will begin to flash. After the enter button is pressed, the user can now press the up or down buttons to change the security code to be entered before the user gets into the configuration menu. Once the user has the desired code within the GasBadge Pro, they must press the enter button and that particular code is now registered into the instrument. Pressing the up button once will display this screen with the clock symbol and the cassette tape, allowing the user to change the data logging interval within the GasBadge Pro. And what the data logging interval means is that data logging is a method of storing the readings the instrument saw during a certain period of time. And what the interval does is take an average over a certain number of seconds, and it then stores the information so that the user can download that information at a later date. If the user is trying to change the data logging interval, they must press the enter button. Once the numerical value begins to flash, the user must press the up or down buttons to change the data logging intervals. Once the user has the interval set to the desired level, the user can now press the enter button and that value is saved in the instrument. Pressing the up button once will display this screen as well as the sensor's gas type in the upper right-hand corner of the display. If the user would like to change how the instant reading screen will be read, then they must press the enter button and the display will begin to flash. There are 3 different screens the user can choose from. The first being the gas reading screen, where it will show the user how much gas is in the environment numerically, be it by parts per million or percent by volume, depending on what sensor type. The second option the user can set the screen to is to show the gas type only, and this will only display whatever type of sensor is in the GasBadge Pro. And the third option the user can set the screen to is to show the clock time. In the first and third option, the sensor type is displayed in the upper right-hand corner of the display. What I think is most important to know is that no matter what screen the user chooses, if the instrument reaches a non-safe environment, the meter will still go into alarm. Once the user has chosen what screen they would like to see when they get back to the incident reading screen, they can now press the enter button and that screen is now set. Pressing the up button once will show the user this screen, as well as the lock symbol right next to the battery icon. And what the always on option means is that if the user decides to turn this feature on, the instrument will operate continuously until the battery fails. For the user to turn this feature on, they must press the enter button. Once the enter button is pressed, the number will begin to flash. With the number flashing, the user can now press the up or down buttons to change this value. A 0 means that this instrument can be turned off and back on again. A 1 means that the always on feature is in the on position. Once the user has the feature set up to the desired value, they can now press the enter button and this feature is saved. Pressing the up button once will show this screen with a letter C on the display, allowing the user to turn on a confidence beep. And what the confidence beep does for the user is it alarms every 15 seconds, letting the user know that the meter is still turned on and working. To turn this feature on, the user must press the enter button, and once the enter button is pressed, the numerical value will begin to flash. Once the number is flashing, the user can now either use the up or down buttons to change this value. A 0 meaning the confidence beep is off, and a 1 meaning the confidence beep is on. Once the user has the GasBadge Pro's confidence beep set to their desired level, they can now press the enter button and that setting is now saved. Pressing the up button once will display this screen, as well as the buzzer icon and the lock symbol on the display. What this screen does is allow the user to turn the alarm's latching feature on or off. Alarm's latching means that if the GasBadge Pro goes into alarm, it will stay in alarm until the user acknowledges the alarm and presses the enter button. It is then the alarm will shut off. If the user wants to change this feature, they must first press the enter button. After pressing the enter button, the numbers will begin to flash. With the number flashing, the user can now press either the up or down buttons to change this value. A 0 means the instrument's alarm latching is inactive. A 1 means the instrument's alarm latching is on. Once the user has this feature set up the way they want it, they can now press the enter button and that feature is now saved. Pressing the up button once will display this screen showing a 0 with a slash through it and also the lock symbol. What this feature is for is the zeroing in field. And what zeroing in the field means is that whenever we are in the normal operations mode, the user of this instrument, depending on the way the feature is set up, the user can either zero the sensor in the field or not. This is a nice feature if you are starting to notice people are zeroing the instrument in non-fresh air environments. If the readings are skewed a lot of the time, what you can do is turn this feature off, and the only way to zero this instrument is through the configuration menu. If the user wants to change this feature, they must press the enter button and the number will begin to flash. With the number flashing, the user can now press either the up or down buttons to change this value. A 0 means the zeroing in field option is allowed. A 1 means the zeroing in field option is locked out. Once the user is done changing the zeroing in field option, they can now press the enter button and that setting is saved. Pressing the up button once will show this screen with the Calibration Gas icon as well as the lock symbol. This feature allows the user to calibrate the instrument in the field. If the instrument is being calibrated without gas applied, the instrument will let the user know that the instrument failed. And if the sensor fails, it will not let the user use the instrument. If you notice that this instrument is being put into calibration mode by accident, what you can do is turn this feature on so that the only way the calibration can be performed is by going into the configuration menu. If the user wants to change this feature, they must press the enter button and after the enter button is pressed, the number will begin to flash. With the numbers flashing, the user can now press either the up or down buttons to change this feature to the desired setting. A 0 means that this Calibration In Field option is allowed. And a 1 means that the Calibration In Field option is locked out. Once the user is done changing the Calibration In Field option, they must press the enter button, and this feature is now saved. Pressing the up button once will display this screen, showing the calibration gas bottle icon. What this feature does is that it tells the user whether or not they want the GasBadge Pro to let them know how many days they have until a calibration is due, or how many days it's been since the last time it's calibrated. Another option is to have the GasBadge Pro not alarm the user at all when it needs to be calibrated. If the user wants to change this feature, they must press the enter button. Once the enter button is pressed, the numbers will begin to flash. With the numbers flashing, the user can either press the up or down buttons to change this value. A 0 means that the GasBadge Pro will not show calibration at all. A 1 means that the instrument will display how many days it's been since the last time the GasBadge Pro has been calibrated. A 2 means that the instrument will display how many days until the next calibration is due. Once the user is done changing this option, they can now press the enter button, and this feature is now saved. Pressing the up button once will display this screen, showing the days calendar, the buzzer icon, as well as the calibration gas bottle icon. This screen allows the user to change whether or not the GasBadge Pro will alarm whenever a calibration is due. If the user needs to change this feature, they can press the enter button, and after pressing the enter button, the numbers will begin to flash. The user can press either the up or down buttons to change this value. A 0 means the Calibration Due Alarm is off. A 1 means the Calibration Due Alarm is on. Once the user has this feature to the desired setting, they can press the enter button, and this feature is now saved. Pressing the up button once will display this screen, showing the days calendar as well as the calibration gas bottle icon. This screen allows the user to set up the Calibration Due Setpoint, which is in days. This Calibration Due Setpoint just lets the user put in a value of how many days they want to go in between calibrations. Once this value is set, if the user goes beyond the amount of days set up here and doesn't calibrate the